Hi, a while back I did a video of the Epiphone Les Pauls that I've got, and since I did that one I've had a couple go out, a couple come in, so I thought I'd just update it a little bit. This has now become Epiphone Corner. All of these here are Epiphones, including the acoustic. So I thought I'd just quickly go through them. I won't play any of them, plug them in or anything. It's just to show you the comparisons between the different models that I've got. A couple of them are fairly rare or hard to come by, so anyway, I'll just go through them quickly and give you a little look at what I've got at the moment. So these aren't in any kind of chronological order or quality order or anything like that. Vast majority of these I bought used. I think I've got 2 that I bought new, and the rest are all bought second hand. And you can find some bargains if you know what to look for. Anyway, this is the first one. This is the Les Paul Standard Pro. They call it Plus Top Pro because it's got a AAA flame maple veneer, very thin veneer that they put on the top. I don't know if you can see. Sun's coming around now, so but there we are. It's a standard fare mahogany body. It's got Grover tuners. This has got Pro Buckers, it's got Epiphone Pro Buckers, which are relatively recent development from Epiphone, but when I say recent, I think they've been around maybe 4 or 5 years now, I'm not really sure, but they're great pickups. They're apparently the specs are very similar to the Gibson Burst Bucker, and they sound really good. So they're coil split as well. There's the top, just so you can see the flame on it. So the light's a bit difficult as the sun's coming around. It's dropping behind the trees. Put that light on a little bit. Anyway, yeah. So they're Pro Buckers. They're coil split on the volume pots. I never use coil splits on Les Pauls. I can't get my head around a Les Paul sounding like a Strat. So there we are. I think I put the speed knobs on. They come with normal sort of top hats, but I don't particularly like top hats, so I put these speed knobs on. This is bought used. The guy had the original box. It had an Epiphone leather strap with it. Got it for a great price. It's just unmarked. I mean, there's no buckle rash. There's nothing. It's like a new guitar. And as I said in the previous video, which I did probably, I don't know, a year ago now or something, I know sort of a lot of people seem to diss the Heritage Cherry Sunburst. People call it, some people refer to it as a clown burst, which you can obviously, I can see why. But the reason I like this particular one is that it's got such that real deep cherry finish, and the top is very much like Scott Gorham's Les Paul Deluxe that he had when he was in Thin Lizzy in the 70s. So yeah, so that's why I like this particular one. I know it's a kind of an in-your-face finish, but personally I like them. But then, you know, I've been knocking around a while, so I'm sort of more used to them. But I think younger people find it hard to get their head around the Heritage Cherry Sunburst. But there we are. So that's it. That's the first one. I shall try and put these in and out without clunking them together. So that's that. This is a 1960 Tribute Plus in black cherry, and it's I wasn't really a fan of the black cherry. I wanted the black one, the Midnight Ebony, but I couldn't find a decent used one at the time. And I saw this. I travelled a bit to go and pick it up off the guy. He'd had it set up. It's been beautifully set up, and it has grown on me since I've had it. The colour's grown on me, and it is just, out of all of these, it probably is the one that plays the best. The 1960 Tribute Pluses come with Gibson 57 Classics. That's what they ship with, which are great. They're my favourite pickups. They come with speed knobs. They've got the little metal dealios there, you know, the sort of volume markers. These are also coil split, works on the tone pots. Again, don't use it. But what differentiates this from just the standard is the fact that, apart from the Gibson pickups, is also the fact that it's got a deep tenon neck joint, Mallory cap, switchcraft, jack and switch, I think. And the wiring is sort of Gibson quality wiring. So it's just a nice guitar all around. It's got sort of a flat D neck, which I personally like. Again, Grover tuners. Most of these are 18:1 Grovers, but these are locking tuners. Comes in a case, which the standard one doesn't. So there we are. So that's the black cherry. It is a nice colour. As I say, it didn't really do it for me at first, but it's got a flame under there. It's not quite as obvious as the last one, but there you are. Bought used again. No marks particularly to speak of. No buckle rash. It's in great nick. These all could do with dust by the look of them, but condition wise they're all pretty good. Anyway, after buying that, I then stumbled across a black one. So I couldn't bear to part with the black cherry because it's such a nice guitar, so I ended up with both of them. So I bought this off a guy. He advertised it on eBay. I got a great price on it. It comes with a case like the other one, 57 Classics. It's all completely stock. Coil splits, metal markers. It's got the deep neck joint, locking tuners, exactly the same, just a different finish. And I wanted the Midnight Ebony, but I really sort of fell on my feet with this one because this one's got a, I don't know if you can see with this light now, but the flame on it it's like a tiger stripe. Most of these have a very thin, even flame pattern, but this has got a, so it's more like a tiger stripe. Really beautiful. And to be honest, I had no idea. The guy's pictures were pretty awful. You couldn't see that at all. I just thought, oh, it's, you know, he's listed it as in great condition, which it is. Again, no marks, no rash, no nothing. So I bought it based on what he said more than the pictures, because the pictures just weren't that clear. When I opened the case up, saw that top, you know, I nearly sort of did a backflip. So so there we are. So I've got two of these. Loath to part with either of them because they're both lovely in their own way. So that's the two Tribute Pluses. Then the next one this is fairly rare, I would say, or certainly very hard to come by nowadays. I don't know how many they made or how long they made them for. It was made in 2017, this particular one. This is the Inspired by 1955 custom outfit. Comes in a brown Epiphone case with a period correct pink lining, really lovely. Certificate of authenticity. Absolute monster neck, baseball back neck. Biggest neck I've ever had on a guitar. Beautiful inlays, the pearloid inlays that really catch the light. It's standard custom fare. It's got rectangular inlays, you know, blocks. It's got the split diamond. And the thing that sets this apart from, well, what sort of its secret weapon really, is that it's got Gibson P90s in it, and these pickups are just phenomenal. They're really raw, and I mean, I don't mind Epiphone pickups. As I say, the Pro Buckers are great pickups. I've got them on the standard. I've got them in one of the other ones that's coming up in a bit. and they're great. But these P90s are just monster pickups. So I know there's a real sort of demand for these. Reading on forums and things, people are looking for them all the time. I think you can still get them from Japan. Probably you can buy new ones from Japan, but they're not cheap. Not for an Epiphone anyway. But this one, bought it new. It's absolutely. I think I got this from GAK. It's got it's called aged gloss. It's a sort of a satiny. It is a bit glossy, but it's just like a guitar that's been knocking around for 60 years or whatever. And there we are. So this is one that is really nice to have, because I know these just rarely come up for sale. So I bought this new. You just don't find them new now, as I say, unless maybe you can get them from Japan. Not sure, but they hardly ever see them for sale used. So that's that. So I had a couple of let go recently. I had a Custom Classic, which everybody calls the Custom Classic Pro, but it's actually not. It's the Custom Classic, which had Gibson. It's a black Custom, but it had trapezoid inlays. It had the little crown like the SG has, instead of split diamond. It had Gibson 490R and 498T pickups, and it was a real aged binding, dark yellow binding. It was a lovely thing. Didn't come with a case, which was a bit of a surprise, but anyway, I never warmed to it. It was a great guitar, but it just kind of sat there. So I saw a guy advertise asking if anybody had got one that they wanted to part with, and as it turns out, we didn't live that far away from each other. So I sent him loads of photos of it. He was a bit sceptical. I don't think he was convinced it was the guitar he wanted, but I knew it was, and eventually he came round, and he was absolutely delighted. It was like new. So we did a deal, and off he went. And anyway, so I put the money to this, and again, these come up very rarely. This is a 1954 Jeff Beck Oxblood Les Paul. Now the colour's looking quite red because there's a lot of light coming in from I've got a lot of big windows here and the light's coming in, but when it's not so light, it actually looks almost like chocolate brown. It's a very, very deep red, but it's almost brown. It's called Oxblood, and the original Gibson that this is based on, Jeff Beck's guitar, before he owned it, the previous owner had a shop, either a shop or Gibson did it, stripped it down, finished it in the Oxblood, and he didn't like it, so it ended up for sale in the shop, and Jeff Beck saw it and bought it. So this was done by Epiphone. This is a 2009, and it's in the Oxblood finish. It's got uncovered Alnico Classics, and no coil splitting or anything like that. It's got the wrap over original 54 style tailpiece, not a Tune-o-matic bridge, and the other distinctive thing about it, I think it's the only one, it doesn't come with Les Paul's name on the headstock. Somebody's replaced the truss rod cover with the Gibson Bell one. It's got a few sort of marks and things. There's something there which looked like it was somebody's got a bit of glue on it or something, and there's some hazing, sort of few hazing marks on the top when you get the light on it. But those things don't bother me. I like guitars to be nice, but when a guitar's been used, especially if it's a guitar based on a real vintage guitar, I don't mind if it's got a bit of scarring or it looks like it's a bit older than it is. But I love Jeff Beck. Bought the Blow by Blow album when it came out in '76, I think it was, when I was at college, and there was the famous drawing of him on the front, and then the original picture that the drawing was based on the back, where he's holding this guitar. And I always wanted one of these. Again, they hardly ever come up for sale, certainly not intact. The only thing that's been changed on this is someone's put PRS tuners on, but they've got the original sort of style keys. and the bell truss rod. So it's got a few marks here and there. Came in a case though, came in an Epiphone case, which sort of softened the blow of what I paid for it, because I paid a bit over the odds because I just didn't want to miss it. I did the deal with the guy, but you know, he wouldn't come down too much because he knew that these don't show up very often. So it's a nice thing to have in the collection alongside that. So this is based on a 54, the last custom's a 55. The next one I'm going to show you is based on a 54 as well. And then you've got the two 1960s, so they're quite, you know, it's quite a nice little group of sort of period type guitars. And this is also based on a 54. This is the Peter Frampton Phoenix. They made 1,100 of these, 900 they sold just a guitar with a certificate of authenticity, and then they did 200 in a case with a certificate of authenticity hand signed by Peter Frampton. So there's only 200 of these in the world. It's got Pro Buckers in it, which I was a bit surprised at. I thought it'd have Gibson pickups, but because it wasn't cheap. But Pro Buckers are great. Well, the first two are Pro Buckers. It's a Pro Bucker 2 and a Pro Bucker 3, and then the last one's a Ceramic Plus, which is a hotter pickup. And if for anyone who doesn't know anything about the Phoenix guitar, Pete Frampton's original Les Paul that he used on Frampton Comes Alive plus other stuff, was lost in a plane crash. The band's plane crash carrying all their gear in South America, and burst into flames. People died in the crash, the crew and everything, and all their gear was lost. This guitar, or his guitar, it vanished for 30 years and was assumed destroyed, but it showed up and eventually was got back to him. Gibson he gave it to Gibson. They've repaired it and got it up to a condition where he can play it, and he does play it, plays it live. It's got obvious fire, heat damage in different parts of the body. So obviously this is based on the original condition, not the sort of post-fire. It's incredibly light. It's weight relieved, as his was. His was given to him by a friend and a fan of his. He was using a 335, I think, at the time. He wasn't getting on with it, and the guy lent him this Les Paul, and at the end of the tour he said, "I don't suppose you'd sell it, would you?" And he said, "No, I'm going to give it to you." But the guy had sent it back to Gibson. They pared the neck down, so it's not as big as a 50s neck. It's not as big as the neck on that 1955, but it's not as slim as a C or a D. Very light. It had been chambered. Lightest Les Paul by a mile that I've ever had. And if you don't know about the pickup configuration, the middle pickup is always on, and it operates off the lower volume and tone control. So if you don't want it on, you just turn it down. So if you've got the top volume turned up, which operates the neck and the bridge, then that just works the usual way: neck, bridge, and both. And if you turn up the middle pickup, turn them down, that does nothing, and the middle pickup's on. And obviously you can blend them, so it gives you sort of a combination. And the output of the middle one is slightly higher, so it sort of, when you bring that in with the other two, or one of the other two, it sort of changes the frequencies, makes it a bit sort of compressed sounding. It's nice. So there it is. It's completely stock, no push pulls, anything like that. It's got Peter Frampton's autograph silk screened on the back of the headstock, and as I say, it came in a case, and it came in a hand signed, had a hand signed certificate of authenticity. I've been a Peter Frampton fan for years because I've been knocking around for a bit. I remember when Frampton Comes Alive came out, me and all my mates bought the album, just wore it out, listening to it on repeat kind of thing. Yeah, always been a fan, and as soon as I heard these were coming up for sale, I put my name down. Got this one from Anderton's, So yeah, so that's that. And this is also fairly rare, but just you don't see many of them. They don't come up for sale very much. It's the only trouble when the sun comes out, you can see all the dust and everything. This is a Les Paul Deluxe, and the Deluxe comes with mini humbuckers. Now I had one of these years ago that I bought brand new in a shop in Harlow in Essex, if I remember rightly, and it was the first thing I ever sold on eBay, and I regretted selling it afterwards, and they became increasingly hard to find, and now they rarely come up for sale. There has been one on eBay just recently at the time of recording this, which is the 9th of whatever month we're in, September, and 2021. And anyway, so there has been one for sale. It's up for about 550, same as this. It's ebony. It's in better nick than this. This one's been clearly gigged. It's got, you know, this has got, out of all my guitars, it's really the only one that's got you know, some battle scars. It's got a few dinks and nothing serious. It's not like a massive amount of buckle rash, but there's a few nicks and dinks here and there, but I don't mind that. It just gives it character. These were made in it's made in Korea. This one's from the Unsung plant in Korea, and they did this in black, a gold top, a blue sparkle top and a red sparkle top. I think they were just the 4 finishes, and from what I hear, the black and the gold top are the 2 that are hardest to find. Although, to be honest, I've had 2 of these. I've never seen, other than on eBay or online, on YouTube or whatever, I've never seen a red or a blue sparkle. They're not my kind of thing really, but anyway, I wish the one I sold was immaculate, and I, like most guitars I've sold over the years, I wished I hadn't got rid of it. But when I saw this, I got it for a good price because it hadn't been looked after. I've had it set up by a guy local to me. He's done a magnificent job. It's perfectly set up, and these are the original Epiphone mini humbuckers. And mini humbuckers are just gorgeous. They're lower output than a standard humbucker, and the neck particularly is really sweet, warm, just beautiful. My favourite pickup. I also had a Gibson Les Paul Deluxe Gold Top some years ago, which I sadly had to sell. I needed the money at the time. But for the money, these are, I mean, I paid, can't remember what I paid for this, but 250 or something. And I spent a few quid getting it set up, but you know, it's just a lovely thing to have. And I don't mind that it's got a bit of scarring on it, just gives it character. So there we are, so that's the Epiphone Les Paul Deluxe. And then the last Les Paul, which is the most recent one to come in. What else did I sell? Oh, I had another standard plus top pro. I had the Honeyburst one, and again, didn't really use it very much, so you know, I just decided to move it on. And then I got this, which is a standard. It's not a plus top pro or anything. It's a standard, but it's a gold top. In this light, it looks quite sparkly. I don't know if you'll pick that up, but with the light directly on it, it does look quite sparkly. But it's like a bullion gold. It doesn't actually really sparkle under kind of normal light conditions. Bought it used, in great nick, barely a mark on it, no buckle rash. I put reflector knobs on. I like reflector knobs on a gold top. I think they look sort of fairly cool. And Grover tuners again. This one, 2015, made in China. Yeah. But so it's all standard fare, except that it's had iron gear pickups put in. I've had a guitar before. I had a vintage brand Les Paul with iron gear pickups in. the same ones as are in here, and they're absolutely fantastic. That's a blues engine in the neck and a dirty torque, Torque, in the bridge, and they're really good. I mean, they genuinely give Seymour Duncans a run for their money. I've had guitars with Seymour Duncans in, and these, because they're made in the UK and they don't distribute through anybody, they just sell themselves. So there's no sort of middleman markup. You can't buy them in shops, and you can't buy them through wholesalers or whatever. So they sell direct, and therefore they're kind of half the price, if not less than half the price of a Seymour Duncan, and they're genuinely as good. I mean, so I've had 2 sets of these now, and they're really powerful. That's very Path-like, the one in the neck, and the dirty torque is a bit hotter. But yeah, they're just fantastic, and they're zebras as well, which I like. I think that looks good on a gold top. Wish the back was brown. I think if you buy a tribute, the backs are brown, but anyway, that's nitpicking really. And it came in a case, which was just an add-on really. Just wasn't an Epiphone case, but you know, the guy sent it in a case. So that's the last of my Les Pauls, and the most recent. And then finally, with the electrics anyway, this is a 355 BB King Lucille. And the story behind this is that I bought it from a guy who advertised it on eBay, and he made a big deal about the fact that it was a Korean Epiphone, which are way better than Chinese. The Chinese ones are junk compared to the Korean ones. Well, it is generally regarded that Korean guitars are better, but I've had a lot of both, and the difference isn't as big as the kind of lore would kind of tell you. It's you know, this is, anyway, the story was that he made a big fuss about it being Korean. We were in the middle of doing a deal for it, and then I clocked the serial number, and it was obviously Chinese. And so I contacted him and said, oh, hang on a minute, you know, this is Chinese, which you've said yourself were inferior. So I made a big deal about the fact that it was not going to be as good as the guitar I thought I was getting. So I managed to get him down to an absolute rock bottom price, and it came in a I can't think it's a Gator case, but anyway, it came in one of these absolute bomb-proof cases. They're about 120 quid, I think. Apparently you can drive a truck over them or something. So the case itself was worth, you know, if it'd been new, it'd be worth 120 quid. And I got the guitar, I got the price right down, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. It's not really marked. It's got really nicely set up. And it's based on BB King's Lucille. BB King didn't like having F-holes, so he got Gibson to actually make him a guitar with no F-holes, which is the one this is based on. It's also got this, which is called something like a V6 or something, which is a fine-tuning mechanism as part of the bridge. And it's also got a varitone control. It's got 6 notches, which change they're sort of like preset EQs really. So the first one is the kind of these are Alnico Classic and Classic Plus. So that's the sort of one, position 1, that's as they are, and then 2 changes the EQ setting a bit. That was apparently BB King's favourite. Then there's 3 and 4, which make it much more sort of compressed sounding, it sort of rolls off some of the treble. And then 5 and 6 are coil splits. I'm not quite sure how they're wired, but anyway, they coil split. So I tend to keep it on position 2, but I do mess around with it from time to time. So there we are. That's a BB King Lucille. So that's my little collection of Epiphones. And in the corner there, I've got an Epiphone acoustic, which I bought in the late 80s, second hand off a kid in Chelmsford or somewhere. It's a PR300, and it's got a gorgeous tone, really rich and resonant sort of thing. And the neck was slightly twisted. I had a guy work on it to try and set it up at the time, but you know, it's not perfect. But I'd never part with it. It's just a lovely old thing, and it does sound gorgeous. So there we are. So that's my current crop of Epiphones. I hope somebody out there finds it as interesting as I do. Okay, cheers.